Hey guys, so now we're going to continue on in our next section of this textbook, Virginia Civics and Economics, Chapter 1, Section 3. So if you're following along and you have this textbook, feel free to follow along. So this textbook has 3 SOL standards in this section, and we're going to particularly focus on the last one here, practice courtesy and respect for the rights of others. This section has 5 vocabulary words you need to know: beliefs, values, equality, freedom, and justice. We're going to focus on beliefs and values particularly coming up. So here we go. Beliefs and values. Beliefs are certain ideas we trust are true. So you can think of it as if your friend is trying to show you that you are gullible. They may say, hey, look, there's a spider on the wall. And so you may look. In that instance, you have a belief that the people around you are trustworthy and would not tell you to look if there wasn't a reason. But what gullible means is you almost believe it too much. So you believe it to inappropriate amounts. And so you look for that spider even though you're pretty sure that that spider isn't there. So beliefs are just this idea that you trust easy. You trust other people easy. You trust what they say easy. You trust certain ideas easier than other ideas. Values are standards of behavior. And so the idea behind this is, well, just to give an example, you might value treating other people the same way you are treated. That is a value. This idea that we should treat other people the way we are treated ourselves. And so that's a value, a standard of behavior. You might also value doing good to other people. That's a standard of behavior and a value. So the story so far is in Lesson 1 we learned that to help others, you first must know who you are helping. And that part of being a citizen means to help your community. Last lesson we learned a little about our community as Americans. Who are we? We learned specifically about what makes up the unique American identity and the different ethnicities in America. And so this lesson in particular is all about the beliefs and values we as Americans share. And again, we're learning more about our community as Americans so that we can better help our community. We can better go out there and meet the needs of the people around us. If we don't know what the beliefs and values we all share around us, then we can't sort of work in that environment. So one of the biggest beliefs in America is that everyone has equal worth and importance. So if you go around your classroom, your friend next to you, your friend behind you, your friend all the way in the back of the class, they all have equal worth and importance. They're all special. They all can make a difference in the world in some unique way. In fact, that's something that immigrants come to America often for, because many people believe that you can make something of yourself here, regardless of your age, sex, race, wealth, or opinions, or education. So sex is just gender, male or female. Age is how old you are. Race is, again, your ethnicity. Wealth, how much money you have. Opinions, are you Republican, conservative, liberal, or amount of education? Did you go to college? Basic American values. These values come from the fundamental belief that everyone is equal and everyone has worth. So one of these values is equality, and it means the condition of permitting everyone the same rights and opportunity. So sometimes this does not happen in reality. Some individuals do not necessarily believe that everyone has equal worth. If you've been following either Jon Stewart or the news, you may have seen news on Ferguson and some of the other sort of cop shootings of, African Americans. Some people argue that that is not an example of equality. You also see news about women not getting paid as much as men do in work. Some individuals argue that that is not an example of equality. And finally, you might see news about gay and lesbian marriages and so forth. And some individuals argue that we don't treat those people as equally as we need to in our society. Another one of these values is equal opportunity. So, our opportunities may be limited by our abilities or our energy and interests. So, if you are not interested in science, technology, engineering, and math, you're probably not going to get an opportunity in that field. And so, those people in that field, because it's so popular and so many people want to do it and it makes a lot of money, those people in that field may have more opportunity than you because you chose to go into a different field, whereas those people chose to go to science, technology, engineering, and math, and so because they get paid more, they have more opportunity. Uh, but also, our opportunities may be limited by our energy and interests. When all you want to do is play video games all day, you're not going to take advantage of the opportunities around you as easily. But one thing they should never be limited in our society by is race, sex, religion, background, and opinions. So if you're African American or Asian or Hispanic, you should always be entitled to any variety of jobs. If you're male or female, you should always be entitled to sort of any variety of jobs to do what you want to do in this world, unless there's a legitimate reason that a business can point to and say, you know, we are doing this a little bit unequally because of these facts that we see. And you might see this in healthcare, where healthcare charges women more than they charge men because healthcare realizes that women use medical resources more. And so they need to sort of hedge their bets a little bit to make a little money still. Uh, you should never have your opportunity limited by religion, background, or opinions as well. And all this, there's a caveat, unless there is a compelling reason that to treat society and to treat each other equally well. And so that compelling reason we're going to talk about a little bit more here. So one of the values is freedom. Freedom is the ability to make choices. So examples are the ability to choose where you want to work and with whom you would want to work. However, this caveat again is freedom does not extend to when you interfere with the rights of other people. Freedom does not extend to you harming other people. So for example, in this society, you are not free to rob a bank. Because if you rob a bank, like this robber on the screen here, you are interfering with the rights of other people to put money in the bank and to trust that it will stay there and be safe. You are effectively hurting them by taking their livelihood. Again, with, health insurance, there's a caveat there. Health insurance companies need to make some amount of money to be able to be in business. If they treat men and women equally, but they find that women use health services more than men do, on average, then they need to charge women more sometimes. Because if they don't, those women, in a sense, might be interfering with the rights of that health insurance company's other clients, making it so that it's harder for that company to provide services for their other clients. Those women might be making it harder for that company in general to stay afloat. That's why we have some inequality in our society. And finally, a basic American value is justice. Justice means being fair, being just, being honest. An example is you should not get paid more simply because of your race, gender, or connections. And there's a cartoon here that sort of talks about that, where women demanding equal pay. You will see it in the news a lot of the time. And so it's still around in our society today. But this value of justice does not mean that you have to be treated the same as others. So, for example, you might get a job as a school teacher like me, but you are not necessarily entitled to the same salary as someone who has taught for 35 years. Because they have more experience, because they've done more in their life, then that justifies them to have more money, more of a salary than you. And that's fair because there is a compelling reason for that. The teacher is more qualified than you are as a first year teacher, and so they deserve to be treated a little bit better than you do at that moment. And besides, you can get to that point eventually. There's no wall preventing you. So, in conclusion, we don't always live up to this ideal of the values and beliefs we as Americans have. So, I want you to think about on your own piece of paper before you just shut down this YouTube clip and go your separate way. I want you to write down on your own piece of paper. Think about an event that occurred in your life during a moment when you felt that you were being treated unfairly. Write down your thoughts and feelings about this moment. Then try to put yourself in the other person's shoes. What do you think they think, feel? I want you to see, by going through this exercise, that even outside of government, even in our own personal lives, we don't treat each other fairly all the time. We don't treat each other with equality all the time. And we don't treat each other with perfect justice all the time. You've experienced some of that yourself. And so, because we in our individual lives, outside of the government, outside of social studies, outside of everything you learn at school, because we in our individual lives sometimes don't treat each other fairly, justly, equally, how do we expect that sometimes to be in our government? Our government reflects who we are. Our government reflects the people that make it. And that's one of the reasons why it's important for you to take this course, so that you can be transformed by it, to transform the government to be even better than it is. Have a good day.